release, they called the first one 1. MPEG-1 probably goes back to the late 80s. MPEG-2 is the video compression, the collection of standards that are used largely implemented in consumer DVD video discs. So if you want to make a regular video DVD, late 1990s style, Bush era style, you want to convert your video stream. Well, I'm not sure what the exact syntax is, but you're using MPEG-2. MPEG-3 was going to be the next specification standard released by the Motion Picture Experts group. That got scrapped. They skipped the 4. But anyway, MP3 actually is an audio compression, which can be used with MPEG-1 or 2, and is layer 3 audio. That's where the 3 in the name is. It's layer 3 audio belonging to MPEG-1, layer 3 audio. That's what MP3 stands for. It's not MPEG-3. There is a lesser audio quality with maybe a lower bitrate, less processing requirement to decode and play it, is layer 1 and 2. I remember an old website called, oh God, what the heck was it? CD Now? Back in the late 90s, 2000, they got bought by Amazon. They offered sample clips, and actually, I believe it wasn't MP3. It was, I think it was layer 2. And they may have even given them MP2 file name extensions. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. I'm talking almost 15 years ago here. So, and then Real Media was streaming. Windows Media streaming was the rage for sample clips of audio CDs. It was 30 seconds. Sample clips. And, Shockwave Flash has been a very popular container delivery technology platform for multimedia within a web browser, and now HTML5 is supposed to be taken over, and we got VP8, VP9 video, H.265 now. Actually, MPEG-4, H.264 is the dominant video format. Theora was competitive with the original Part 2 of the MPEG-4 spec. Theora was based on, I believe, Onto Technologies VP3, I believe. They open sourced it, and then Onto Technologies went on to create VP, 4 and 5. 6 got used by Adobe when they bought Macromedia, and that became the second generation, the second kind of video compression that was supported by Flash, Adobe Flash. They had recently bought it, Macromedia. When Macromedia first introduced video to Flash, it was Sorensen Spark, and audio actually was, I believe, MP3. And when you download videos from YouTube, you can, that's a legacy backward compatible format. Definitely not that efficient a compression format, but who knows? I don't even know why they still offer it. It takes some bandwidth and space. And then, well, actually, for all I know, some of the FLVs, that's the container format for Flash video, might have had actually onto VP6 video and maybe AAC audio. I know certainly the MP4 files are H.264 plus audio. Google purchased onto, I know at some point Macromedia allowed, this kind of video, which is actually the most dominant for, sorry, not ACC, AAC for, well actually they had an extension for Flash video. And then, oh gosh, Google purchased Onto Technologies. See, I read the Wikipedia articles, that's why I know this shit. Google purchased Onto Technologies, and the latest technology, the latest video compression algorithm by that point in the series from Onto was VP8. VP1 may have been an early video conferencing, may have been used for that. And sometimes the same standard can have different names because different standards bodies can different standard bodies assign a number to it when it's approved, or at least a subset of its functionality and specification is approved as a standard. That's FireWire from the International Institute of Electrical Engineers. Gosh, there's so many. European Broadcasting Union, who knows? There are all sorts of international organization for standardization. That's a French acronym. That's why it's ISO, not iOS. French-based, I guess, international organization. Lots of knowledge about multimedia. What was the last thing I was going to say? Oh yes, Google bought up Onto Technologies. That means they inherited all the intellectual property, and particularly they were interested in the latest video compression format. Remember, Adobe made an agreement with Onto Technologies in 2000. Well, it was released, I guess, 10 years ago, 2005 or so, for Onto VP6 to be the new video standard for Flash video, Shockwave Flash video within a Shockwave Flash animation, using Adobe Flash platform. And then apparently, I don't know what 7 is, but Onto created 8. Then they got acquired by Google. Google made VP8 open source and included it as part of WebM, web video. And then on YouTube, that's usually one of the alternate download formats, one of the formats video can be deployed in. If you don't have a codec that can decode H.264 MP4 files, you can get in this open, non-licensed encumbered format that Google has made open source. And then the audio is Vorbis, I believe. Vorbis is competitive with it's better than MP3 actually. MP3 dates from 1989. The spec was actually released. Most computer hardware could not decode it and handle it until maybe 1999. That's when I started hearing about the MP3s. The average, Pentium or Pentium 2, or what is it, Mac OS 8, whatever, PowerPC. The personal computers that the middle class had in the late 90s couldn't. It wasn't until the late 90s that you could probably run an operating system and play an MP3 file. But advanced audio codec came from MPEG, the Motion Picture Experts Group. You can actually use it in MPEG 2 as the compression format for the audio stream. Actually, AC3 is very commonly used in video. AC3, ACMP3, those are all basically lossy compression formats. FLAC is one of many, and probably the most widely adopted. This is an open source lossless PCM compression. It can even store file system overhead of the source WAV file, which is very nice. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Theora. That was equivalent. It's competitive with for part 2. When the MPEG 4 spec was released, there were originally 8 parts. First part, I think, was the container format, which was based on, or was just like the Apple QuickTime Move format, movie container file format. Theora is very competitive. It's an open source equivalent to MPEG for part 2. However, regardless of Theora, and it works nicely. Record My Desktop actually uses that. And what was that, 2001 or so, that specification was released? Or no, maybe earlier than that. There's some disappointment with the performance. So there are additional parts were added. I don't know if there's more. A few years later, from the Motion Picture Experts Group, as an addendum, an amendment to MPEG 4's spec. There were 8 parts originally, right? Go look on Wikipedia if you want to learn a lot about the details, or if you really want to take the plunge, look at the official technical specification documents from the Motion Picture Experts Group. Totally technical. It will put even me to sleep. Part 10. This is the video format that is most widely used on the internet, and it's also known as the Advanced Video Codec, or some other standards body assigned number 264 to it. So H.264. The open source implementation is called X264. And it's contained within a MP4 container file format, which can also contain, Part 2 video, which is the older, less efficient, but less processor intensive maybe. Whatever. MPEG-2 video, which part of the MPEG-2 spec was the video compression, requires less processing power. It's less efficient, meaning it takes more bits to store the raster pixel, visual content, but it uses less processor power. Your cooling fan won't work as hard to process it. It's less resource intensive, less efficient, but doesn't require as much processing power. And certain older CPUs just will not be able to decode. Well, certainly Part 10 of will not be able to decode that. It's just one of the performance. Specialized chipsets exist in mobile devices, like these smartphones. Qualcomm, I think, makes them. I forget. Anyway, ARM-based architecture. They know people want to watch videos, so they have specialized circuitry. They don't send it all through the regular ARM-based CPU. That's used for the rest of the software execution, all the other software running on the system.